Hallo zusammen. Ja, heute sind wir angekommen am dritten und letzten Tag der Tagung von Romani Penn, Feminismen of Color angesichts des rechten Terrors. Also die letzten 2,5 Tage waren voller Gespräche, Analysen, Austausch, Strategien, Vernetzung, die wir jetzt aufgreifen werden. Was wir aber auch sagen können, ist, dass unterm Strich Analysen geteilt wurden, Einschätzungen geteilt wurden, die jenseits des Mainstream-Diskurses über rechte und rassistische Gewalt sich positionieren und eigentlich auch so bewegungsgeschichtlich antikoloniale, antirassistische, antifaschistische, intersektionale Perspektiven auf rechte und rassistische Gewalt repräsentieren. Nun möchte ich abgeben an meine lieben MitstreiterInnen hier auf dem Panel. Wir werden es in 2 Teile einteilen heute, und zwar der erste Teil wird eine Rekapitulation der letzten 2,5 Tage sein, also wir nennen es Wrap-Up, und dann kriegt ihr so ein bisschen mit, was wir an Workshops und Inhalten etc. hatten in den letzten 2,5 Tage, und dann geht es mit unserer lieben Genossin und Mitstreiterin, Freundin Jennifer Kamau vom International Women's Space weiter in Ausblickdiskussion. Gut, dann möchte ich gerne das Mikrofon dann für das erste Wrap-Up an Berna geben, die auch ihren eigenen Workshop vorstellen wird.
Genau, ich würde einfach jetzt anfangen. Gestern, wo muss ich hingucken jetzt? Ach, da, das bewegt sich. Genau, wir hatten eben gestern ein Migrantifa-Workshop, genannt Yalla Yalla Migrantifa, Migrantifa-Arbeit bleibt Handarbeit, wo wir eben erstmal überlegt haben, was verbinden wir eigentlich mit Antifaschismus, was ist Antifaschismus. Dabei haben wir festgestellt, dass wir auf jeden Fall eine negative Konnotation davon haben, weil es eben sehr weiß behaftet ist, und da in diesen Räumen haben wir schon sehr viel Rassismus erfahren, und das hat uns wiederum frustriert, müde gemacht, haben dann aber auch geguckt, was das für uns unabhängig von diesem weißen Antifa-Räumen bedeutet. Antifaschismus hat Geschichte, bedeutet Awareness, Praxis im Alltag und Kampf gegen eine wirtschaftlich, politische und soziale Ordnung, die auf Rassismus, Ausbeutung, Sexismus, Nationalismus basiert. Und dann haben wir aber auch festgestellt, dass Antifaschismus, also unser migrantischer Antifaschismus, eben Sichtbarkeiten schafft und erkämpft. Offenheit füreinander bedeutet, Selbstermächtigung und eine Selbstorganisierung bedeutet. Darüber hinaus haben wir festgestellt, dass im weißen Kontext wir oft als Opfer dargestellt werden, wenn es um Rassismus geht, aber wenn wir uns unsere eigenen Geschichten angucken, dann stellen wir halt fest, dass wir zum Beispiel Partisaninnen Nachfahren sind oder politische Aktive hatten, die als politische Geflüchtete herkamen. Also da war sehr viel Widerstand in unseren kollektiven Widerständen, haben uns aber auch gleichzeitig die Frage gestellt, was ist Gewalt? Bei der Frage der Gewalt kam auch dann die Frage der Gegengewalt. Was ist Gewalt und was ist eigentlich Gegengewalt? Was ist der Unterschied? Und was ist Terror? Denn wenn wir Terror eben so verstehen, dass weiße Strukturen insgesamt terroristisch sind, weil sie eben ein System geschaffen haben, der durch und durch rassistisch ist, dann können wir auch nochmal über Gegengewalt reden und Gegengewalt als Notwehr, als Schutzwehr, als Selbstorganisierung begreifen. Das war's.
Ja, super. Danke dir, Berna, für die eindringliche Zusammenfassung und dass du das alles so toll auf den Punkt gebracht hast eigentlich, was wir so gesagt haben gestern. Dann würde als nächstes Gilda dran sein, die einen Wrap-Up macht von Roxana Loren-Witz Workshop, Video-Input zu Hate Speech und Gewalt im Netz war der Titel.
Ja, hallo. Sehr gerne mache ich das. Sehr beeindruckend. Roxane Loren-Witt in 4 Videos, die sich vor allem mit digitalen Räumen und der Rolle von digitalen Räumen beschäftigt. Ich versuche diese 4 Videos mit einer recht opulenten Länge wirklich ganz kurz zusammenzufassen. Sehr gut hat mir der Aspekt gefallen in diesen Videos, oder ich fühle mich sehr empowered durch den Aspekt, dass sie die andere Seite von transgenerationellen Trauma beleuchtet, nämlich im Sinne von, wir sind eigentlich fleischgewordener Widerstand, was auch Berner gerade gesagt hat, wir als Nachfahrinnen von Leuten, die verfolgt wurden, zum Beispiel auch Partisaninnen, sind eigentlich transgenerationell gesehen fleischgewordener Widerstand, dass dafür auch ein Bewusstsein da ist und dass wir das auch als intellektuelle Ressource nutzen können. Ganz stark ging es darum, den digitalen Raum aus allen Perspektiven zu verstehen, mit seinen Ressourcen, aber auch den Gefahren, die für uns bestehen. Einerseits bei den Gefahren die Radikalisierungsprozesse, wo sich rechtsterroristisches Gedankengut nicht nur verbreitet, sondern wirklich auch Menschen radikalisiert bis hin zu praktischer Gewaltausübung. Andererseits aber auch diesen digitalen Raum als Ressource für uns zu verstehen, dort neue Räume zu schaffen, die auch kostenlos sind, was wichtig ist angesichts der mangelnden Mittel, die viele von uns zur Verfügung haben. Und dann noch die Zukunftsperspektive im Sinne von Digital Rights, was zum Beispiel passiert mit Technologien wie biometrischen Daten. Wie kann man diese tatsächlich dann auch gegen uns verwenden? Und das greift dann auch in die Perspektive des Datenschutzes angesichts von rechtsterroristischen Netzwerken, aber auch angesichts von rechten Strukturen innerhalb des Staates. Sollte uns das Sorgen machen und wir sollten das reflektieren, uns damit auseinandersetzen und abschließend eben noch die Perspektive, dass viel zu wenig Wissen über Gesetze, über Datenschutz, Gesetze auch im Sinn, wie kann man sie zu unserem Vorteil nutzen, noch vorhanden ist, dass es hier viel mehr Bildung, viel mehr Bewusstseinsarbeit braucht, um diese digitalen Räume auch tatsächlich als Empowerment für uns nutzen zu können. Das ist jetzt natürlich wahnsinnig verkürzt und ich empfehle jedem und jeder vor allem, sich diese Videos von Roxane Lorraine Witt anzusehen. Und danke Roxy hier an dieser Stelle auch nochmal für diese ganz tollen und wirklich breiten Videos. Dankeschön.
Vielen Dank, liebe Gilda, dass du das so wunderbar zusammengefasst hast. Kannst du uns vielleicht noch sagen, ob wir auch alle noch Zugriff auf die Videos haben werden? Darüber bin ich jetzt gerade nicht informiert, deswegen.
Also ich hoffe, ich sage jetzt nichts Falsches, aber ich denke, es ist sehr wohl geplant, dass die online verfügbar sind. Ich glaube sogar, sie sind schon irgendwo hochgeladen, aber sie werden auf jeden Fall zugänglich sein nach der Konferenz.
Wahrscheinlich dann auf der Seite von Romani Penn.
Genau, wir werden das noch hochladen im Nachhinein, wenn wir die Tagungsdokumentation auch in die Welt raustragen.
Sehr schön, dann gucke ich mir die auch gerne nochmal an. Dann haben wir als nächstes, mein letzter Stand ist, dass Heidi, du den Workshop Wrap-Up zu den Workshops Solidarität und Selbstorganisierung, Perspektiven und Erfahrungen aus Hanau, ein Gespräch von Serpil Temis Unvar, Bildungsinitiative Ferhat Unvar und Initiative 19. Februar, den sie gemeinsam mit Nevros Duman, auch von der Initiative 19. Februar, gestern gehalten hat, wirst du uns nochmal zusammentragen.
Ja, danke. Genau, das war ein sehr schöner Workshop, ein sehr intimer Workshop, deshalb werde ich auch nicht allzu viel darüber sagen, was jetzt genau die Themen, also ich werde ein bisschen was über die Themen sagen, aber ich werde nicht ins tiefe Detail gehen. Wir hatten Serpil Unvar dort, die dort viel über ihre Erfahrungen geredet hat. Sie haben auch nochmal klar gemacht, das waren alles Menschen in Hanau, die vorher nicht politisch aktiv waren. Und für die das die erste politische Aktivität auch war, durch die Dringlichkeit, die sich durch auch die Vertuschung der Polizei und so weiter ergeben hat. Wir haben über viele verschiedene Themen gesprochen. Ich würde vielleicht zwei so Spotlights öffnen. Einmal war das, haben Sie darüber geredet, auch über die Fehler, die danach passiert sind, nach Hanau. Wir hatten dort das Versprechen, dass alle betroffenen Familien Geld bekommen sollten, ne? Ein Opferfonds entstehen sollte. Und bis jetzt haben die Familien 30.000 Euro bekommen. Es stand in den Medien, mehrere Millionen Euro hätten die Familien bekommen. Das stimmt nicht, haben sie nicht bekommen. Im Gegenteil, um auch an diese Gelder zu bekommen, die die Familien auch brauchen, um Verdienstausfälle, Traumatisierung durch und so weiter auszugleichen, werden sie mit Hohn und Beleidigung behandelt tatsächlich. Und das ist ein absoluter Bürokratiewahn, vor den sie gestellt werden. Es hieß immer unbürokratisch, das ist nicht die Realität. Wir haben dann im Workshop auch darüber besprochen, welche Überschneidungen das auch hat, welche Kontinuitäten es auch in Deutschland hat, mit Bürokratie, Selbstorganisierung zu zermürben. Und eigentlich auch unmöglich zu machen, zu verunmöglichen. Und nur die Hartnäckigkeit der Aktiven tatsächlich macht es möglich. Die Bildungsinitiative Fairheit Unwahr ist seit neuestem in ihren Räumen und ist jetzt dabei, auch diese bürokratischen Herausforderungen noch nebenher zu meistern, neben all diesen anderen Dingen. Sie haben uns darauf hingewiesen, dass es einen Untersuchungsausschuss geben wird ab Dezember und auch darauf hingewiesen, dass viele Menschen dorthin mobilisieren werden und man dorthin gehen soll und Sichtbarkeit schaffen soll für die Dinge, die in Hanau geschehen sind. Und auch nochmal gesagt, dass aus der Mitte der Initiative eine Forderung kam nach einer antirassistischen Stiftung und das bisher von politischer Seite einfach abgeblockt worden ist. Und diese antirassistische Stiftung wäre zum Beispiel mal eine Grundlage, um Sachen zu fördern, die tatsächlich rassismuskritisch sind, sodass es darauf einen Fokus gibt, aber da gibt es kein Interesse bisher, ein Gesetz zu verabschieden, Gelder zu vergeben und diese Arbeit, die die Initiative auch hauptsächlich ehrenamtlich macht und basierend auf Spendengeldern, zu unterstützen. Soweit die Skandale, genau. Ja.
Okay, vielen Dank, liebe Heidi. Ich glaube, der nächste Wrap-Up wird auch von dir nochmal gemacht, ne? Das ist dann der intersektionale Workshop gewesen bezüglich Perspektiven auf Polizieren, den Isidore Ranjelovic von Romani Penn und ASH Berlin sowie Bahar Schanne vom Nachbarschaftshaus Obernstraße gemeinsam eigentlich auch mit einem Input, den Vanessa Eileen Thompson gegeben hat und vorher aufgenommen hat, Dr. Vanessa Eileen Thompson, von der Europa-Universität Viadrina, und das fasst du uns jetzt nochmal zusammen.
Genau, ich bin nicht übermenschlich und kann in 2 Workshops gleichzeitig sein. Ich will vielleicht, und ich bin auch nicht, es ist mir auch nicht so wichtig, heute auf diesem Podium zu sitzen, das will ich vielleicht nochmal ganz kurz sagen. Wir haben unheimliche Herausforderungen gehabt wegen Corona. Wir sind 2/3 unserer Teilnehmenden, die in Präsenz da sein sollten, konnten wegen Covid Regulationen nicht kommen, also aus verschiedensten Gründen, und das ist einfach die Realität, mit der wir jetzt, deshalb mache ich jetzt als Vertretung für die Workshop-Teilnehmenden mit den Notizen der Workshop-Leitung eine kurze Zusammenfassung.
Wir freuen uns sehr, dass
du das machst.
Wollte ich nur kurz sagen. Wir freuen uns sehr, dass du das machst.
Genau. Also, was sie gemacht haben, ist, sie haben wirklich einen sehr vertiefenden Workshop zu Polizieren gemacht und also Polizieren der Praxis der Polizei, die Praxis der Polizei auch in anderen gesellschaftlichen Sphären sozusagen. Sehr kurz gefasst, vielleicht auch zu verkürzt. Sie haben angefangen mit dem Videovortrag von Vanessa Eileen Thompson, die über Techniken des Polizierens gesprochen hat, über Kriminalisierung, Selektion, Bestrafung und rassistische Ordnung, haben einen Zusammenhang hergestellt zwischen Kolonien und Europa, also der selektiven Überwachung durch Versklavung, Passgesetze, Arbeitscamps und spezifische Verfolgungsinstitutionen und welche Wechselwirkungen zum Beispiel auch Passgesetze auf Plantagen und dann in Europa hatten. Sie haben geschaut auf einzelne Polizeimorde in Europa und Deutschland, zum Beispiel Christi Schwundeck, die im Jobcenter erschossen wurde, und haben über den Widerstand dagegen gesprochen, über die Skandalisierung, die Recherche, die Demonstration. Sie definiert Polizieren als Verunmöglichung von Atmen. Und das ist dann auch der zweite Teil, in dem sie dann in Kleingruppen darüber diskutiert haben, was bedeutet es, dass uns das Atmen verunmöglicht wird. Genau, in Anlehnung natürlich an I Can't Breathe und Black Lives Matter, ist hier nochmal wichtig zu nennen. Dann gab es einen Input von Isidora, in der sie klar gemacht hat, also ich schaue auf mein Telefon, um abzulesen, ja. um die Zusammenwirkung der verschiedenen Institutionen und Polizei im Fall Maria zu benennen. Maria ist eine Romni, die mit dem Messer angegriffen worden ist in der Berliner U-Bahn und genau, auch dort gab es einige Skandale und zum Beispiel hieß es, dass die Täterinnen nicht rassistisch sein können, weil sie ja kosovarisch seien. Also weiße Kosovaren, die deren Ancestors den Genozid mitgemacht haben, sind sozusagen diejenigen, die nicht rassistisch sein können hier in Deutschland. Dann gab es auch, über Maria haben sie gesprochen, wo es hieß, es sei eine normale Polizeirazzia gewesen in den Medien, war die Diskussion. Maria, eine Romni, die in den Medien war vor 5, 6 Jahren mit dem Thema, dass sie vermeintlich entführt worden sei in Bulgarien, aber sie war eigentlich ein Adoptivkind, sie war blond und deshalb hat die Polizei geglaubt, sie sei entführt worden. Dann hat sie über die Kindesraubgeschichte gesprochen, die traditionell von Gadje gegen Romja passiert, also nicht andersherum. Nein, kriege ich jetzt als Information? Okay, habe ich wahrscheinlich schlecht zusammengefasst. Genau. Und in Irland werden noch 2 Roma-Familien der Kinder der Polizei weggenommen. Ich muss gleich mal meine Mails checken, dann verbessere ich, was ich hier falsch gemacht habe. Und dann gibt es hier noch Techniken der Kriminalisierung, insbesondere in Europa und die Kontrolle, Selektion von Romja und Sinti vor und nach NS. Genau, spezifische Theorien. So, dann spezifische Institutionen, Arbeitshäuser von Romja und Sintize, die Erfassung als Markierung und spezifische Gesetze, die gegen Romja und Sintize, wie zum Beispiel die Vogelfreiheit oder die Landfahrerordnung, die gegen Romja und Sintize installiert worden sind. Zuletzt hat Bahar Shanli einen Input gemacht, die ein allgemeines Gesetz, zum allgemeinen Gesetz zum Schutz der öffentlichen Sicherheit und Ordnung in Berlin. Aha, ich habe verstanden, es ging nicht um Maria, das war falsch, habe ich einfach falsch zusammengefasst. Diese Maria-Polizeirazzia-Sache raus. Nee. Okay, genau, das war falsch. Es ging nur um Maria, die angegriffen worden ist und es sei wohl eine normale Polizeirazzia gewesen. Genau. Und dann, genau, und zuletzt Allgemeines Gesetz zum Schutz der Öffentlichkeit und Sicherheit und was dieses Gesetz schon wieder gegen die Menschen macht. Soweit meine Zusammenfassung.
Okay, vielen Dank, Heidi. Wenn du was nachtragen möchtest, dann check ruhig jetzt mal deine E-Mails. Derweilen werde ich jetzt einfach nochmal darauf eingehen, wie es weitergeht. Ja. Und zwar, das war jetzt sozusagen die Zusammenfassung von den Diskussionen, die die letzten 1,5 Tage stattgefunden haben. Natürlich haben wir das jetzt nur im Rahmen der Zeiten, die uns zur Verfügung stehen, gemacht, aber vielleicht wird es noch ein oder andere weitere Details in der Dokumentation geben, beziehungsweise nämlich im zweiten Hälfte unseres Abschlusspanels, nämlich welches wir gemeinsam mit unserer Mitstreiterin Jennifer Kamau führen und dementsprechend auch auf Englisch gemeinsam versuchen werden, uns zu unterhalten. Das heißt, es wird für euch Zuschauende jetzt recht interessant. Wir hoffen, dass ihr das trotzdem alles mitbekommt. Falls ihr Fragen habt, inhaltlich, aber auch Verständnisfragen oder eine Stellungnahme nehmen wollt zum Thema Feminismen of Color angesichts rechter und rassistischer Gewalt, dann könnt ihr gerne eine E-Mail schicken. Ich glaube, die wird auch eingeleuchtet jetzt. Genau, die seht ihr auch im Stream. Ich sage sie nochmal vor, und zwar an unsere liebe Geschäftsführerin von Romanipen, heidi.barz@romanipen.de. heidi.barz@romanipen.de. Alle Teilnehmenden, die angemeldet waren für die Tagung, haben das heute auch zugeschickt bekommen, heute Vormittag. Das heißt, ihr könnt auch nochmal in eure Mails gehen. Heidi, bevor wir jetzt nochmal weitermachen in unserer größeren Runde, hast du noch was zusätzlich zu sagen? Ja, genau. Es ging nicht um Maria aus Rumänien, die hier angegriffen wurde, sondern um Maria in Griechenland, die es ging doch um Maria in Griechenland und Maria aus Rumänien war eigentlich gar nicht Thema, habe ich jetzt dazu erzählt. Kannst du noch mal kurz Maria aus Griechenland Maria aus Griechenland ist das Mädchen, das nicht
das vermeintlich geklaut war, aber eigentlich adoptiert war. Und in den Medien ganz viel auch darüber normalisiert wurde, die Gewalt, die gegen sie passiert ist, indem man zum Beispiel gesagt hat, es war eine normale Polizeirazzia. Und dann haben sie auch über die Geschichte dieses Kindesraubes gesprochen und die Geschichte des Kindesraubes gegen Romja, also wie Romani-Müttern immer wieder ihre Kinder weggenommen werden, weil es aus vielen rassistischen Gründen, genau.
Ich habe jetzt leider auch einen Fehler gemacht, und zwar, ich muss auch noch mal was zusammenfassen von gestern. Sorry, Jennifer, I did a mistake. I need to wrap up the last point that we had yesterday, and then we're gonna switch to the panel. Es ist einfach der letzte Tag dieser Tagung, es ist viel passiert und wir sind alle ein bisschen angestrengt durch die ganzen Extra-Regulationen, denen wir uns unterwerfen mussten. Ich würde jetzt noch mal kurz zur Filmvorführung gestern was sagen, nämlich zu dem Film Zusammen haben wir eine Chance, den ich mit unter anderem produziert habe, und die Protagonistinnen in diesem Film waren teilweise auch Teilnehmende dieser Tagung, zum Beispiel Sanchita Basu von Reach Out, die auch Teil unserer Auftakt am Freitag war von der Tagung, ist eine Protagonistin in diesem Film. Der Film handelt über die Protestgeschichte von BPOC, hier besonders mit Fokus auf Berlin, aber auch mit seinen Vernetzungen, zum Beispiel auch nach Mölln und München, zum Beispiel Gründungsmoment von ADEFRA. Genau, und das heißt, in dem Film analysieren wir Community-Kämpfe, verbinden diese miteinander. Es wird auch eine ganz unzensierte Kritik an weißen linken Strukturen ausgeübt, aber auch eine Kolonialismuskritik ausgeübt in Bezug auf rassistisches Migrations- und Grenzregime, aber auch eben rechtem Terror. Und dann hatten wir halt eben die Protagonistinnen Sanchita Basu und Yankirai Painemal dabei. Yankirai kennt vielleicht einige von euch, besonders hier in Berlin, die auch Teil der Respekt-Initiative ist, nämlich eine Initiative von illegalisierten Frauen, die zuletzt durch die Kampagne Legalisierung jetzt bekannt wurden. Und die beiden haben halt aus ihren eigenen Selbstorganisierungserfahrungen gesprochen, welche nicht nur einen Bezug hier auf Deutschland und die Selbstorganisierung hat, sondern auch einen Bezug auf die Positionierung als Frauen of Color aus dem globalen Süden und dort auch schon ihre politischen Kämpfe mit eingebracht. Zum Beispiel Yankirai ist Mapuche-Aktivistin aus Chile und das spielt hier sozusagen im Exil in Deutschland auch eine Rolle. Genau, und dann haben wir uns ganz sympathisch darüber ausgetauscht, über generationenübergreifende Fragen, wie zum Beispiel, wie wir aus unseren Kämpfen besser lernen können, weil die Diskussion und die Repression immer irgendwie sich wiederholt an unseren Kämpfen, wie wir da irgendwie herausbrechen können und wie wir stärker es schaffen können, communityübergreifende Allianzen zu bilden. Daran anknüpfend haben wir heute weiter diskutiert, nämlich in der größeren Runde, und jetzt switche ich auf Englisch. Hello, dearest Jennifer. Thank you for being part of the conference. You are one of the founders of the International Women's Space that was set up back then when the Gerhard Hauptmann School was occupied by the refugee movement, and in this initial phase you were part of some women of color, black women, illegalized women, migrant women that set up a safe space for migrant and illegalized women. So thank you that you're here today.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so this morning, actually, we tried to connect the last 2 days, and we're having like strategical discussions about how to strengthen our trans community solidarity networks and what kind of problems we have. And also how we could reach people that were maybe not that politically involved here in Germany because of some concerns like repression or fear of being criminalized, etc. So maybe I want to touch on this discussion that we had already upstairs together, and maybe you can reintroduce your thoughts and points about that, so that we can maybe continue.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was a very interesting discussion with very different perspective, but from a very similar point of struggling. And some of the challenges that we were all like talking from the same point is how to engage people or our groups to be more active with all the fear, all the challenges in terms of victimization, or being visible, or fighting for their changing their infantile status from an asylum seeker to legalizing themselves. The challenges were all similar in terms of the fear and that all of the people were facing. The other challenge we were really all like in agreement with was how to maintain our initiatives as grassroots groups and how to connect to the communities that we are working with and for, and being lost in the NGOism and the bureaucracy of the German system, which takes a lot of our energy, and at some point you do not have the time to engage politically because you're so consumed with all the bureaucratic work. There was also the aspect of finding strategies that would work. It is a point that we said we would further the discussion because it needed more to explore more onto these ideas. I don't know if I've forgotten something else. There were so many points that people touched on, and there was also the aspect of talking about the success point from our perspective, because if we let people define whether our initiatives or what we are doing is success from their white perspective, then they make us feel like we have not achieved anything, while as when we define our successes, then it gives us more courage and more strength to keep fighting. We have something to hang on to as we continue the struggle.
Thank you, Jennifer. I mean, yeah, you were now saying about the discussion that we had about what means change for our movements. What is the moment that we say we have changed something? And there I want to maybe introduce also Heidi again into the discussion, because we had this question in the end of the evening yesterday: what does success or transformation mean on our long way to revolution, to changing the system that is always keeping to run in the same way since centuries, like this racist system that we are in? And you made a nice comparison from the perspective of a Romani movement, and you were quoting Anita Avozosi, you were quoting your sister, and then you were, can you please do this again and then explain us what that transformation means for you?
Okay, yesterday when we talked about self-organization, we basically came to the point, we heard a lot about like how discourse is swifted, for example, because people had finer words, clearer words to define what has happened to them, how some groups got more visibility due to movements such as Oranienplatz, or how also like Romnia and Sintice started being gendered, you know, like it's very small things. But it changes something. It changes something within the structure. So people see that. Also, sometimes people in power positions see that, and sometimes also there's small changes happening. And I always quote my sister, who quotes Angela Davis, because she said that what we are doing in the struggle is to find a deeper definition of freedom. And I think that is a very beautiful thing to say. And also what I said yesterday, and I will repeat it again, is that I personally, because I see that there's a new generation coming of activists, and I personally see that they have new struggles, other struggles than I have, right? Like when we started 14 years ago, the question was, is there a Romani woman who's a lawyer? I don't know, we just said that, right? Is there a Romani woman who's a lawyer? I don't know. And and is there a Romani woman who's a lawyer? And we didn't know. Now we know those women, right? So now we started having these these kind of knowledges of what has happened before. And we start from a very different point. Ileana Lagren is a civil rights movement activist, and she had to fight for the genocide to be accepted as such. I'm grateful I don't have to do that anymore. This is a new struggle we have now to make Romani women visible, right? We're on another level. And I'm grateful also for Isidora, who made it happen that Romani women know each other, that we are not longer asking who's that Romani lawyer, who's, you know, like we know one now, at least. So I think now we are at another point again within the history of our movement, and we can now ask, okay, how do we get to the broad masses, right? How do we get to our communities of color? And we could learn from you, and so on. And I feel actually very grateful for what has happened, and it kind of makes me slightly optimistic that something is changing.
Yeah, this change, for example, the way you make it clear, it's because I've had some white people saying that Oranienplatz was not successful. And I'm like, dude, you are the shitty person in that space. But yeah, what did you do except bring solidarity that was not effective?
It was not wanted.
It was not even wanted. But then we did not even define that the residence fleet law was broken. The voucher system was uplifted. 2015, when the Syrians who migrated, there was a concept of the integrations course. Do you think Germany was so generous or thoughtful to think about people entering this country in that way? Why it not have been a fight that had been bought for so many years? The whole ideology of racism and how it's being discussed now that is what we sparked in 2012. So when we do not evaluate what we have achieved, then we will think we are not making any steps. And anyway, that's why now the right wing is getting very serious, because they see there is a change. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, we had also yesterday the conclusion that, I mean, like that we should organize each other as trans community alliances more stronger, because the enemy is organizing itself since centuries, right? That's what we are facing right now. But Berna, you as one of the co-founders of Migrantifa movement, I mean, it was a specific moment when you became part of, I think, the self-organization against racism. In the perspective, as a person of color, you know, like specifically. And it was in the moment when the racist terror in Hanau happened. So, and what I remember from the involvement of Migrantifa was that there was a strong relation to the history of movements of racialized people, saying we are in the tradition of these movements. But how would you evaluate on that? Was it really the case that your group, Migrantifa in NRW, was connected to other generations of activists of color? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, when we meet, it was a few weeks after Hanau, I think, and we first saw that we were traumatized. And the next step was, okay, who's sitting here and how we can connect us again, because we don't know our names in the original language. So we learned the names, how to spell it, how to say it. It was a wonderful moment. And the first meetings were with sarma, you know, Kurdish sarma.
Sarma like stuffed wine.
Wine, yeah. And we cooked and brought chiköfte, I mean, okay, vegan stuff. And we drank tea, and we talked about politics, and we tried to learn each other's fights. For example, we learned, wait for the name, a Kurdish strategy, but I've forgotten the name. So we learned about it of our Kurdish sisters and brothers, and they told us how to use that in our structures. And we also had black people who said, okay, Look, we are black, that's our history, and we listen to it. It was really interesting because I think we don't know each other's history and we don't know each other's fight. Maybe if we are a generation who should be thankful for that, what Isidora did, what Anita did, maybe also my black sisters from the 80s, die neue schwarze Bewegung in Germany. We learned a lot, so now we can connect each other, drink a tea. I mean, I love tea, so so I invite you to Cologne to drink tea with me, because I think that's the point. We have to know each other with tea or with food. And maybe that's the point. We have to talk about our fights when we are together, because we need also safer spaces. It's not good to talk about our, I don't know, maybe we have differences. So we can't discuss that in front of the German group, of the Germans, because they are Nazis, we know that. You know, in their hearts they are Nazis. So I can't give them food to split up us. So that's the point. We need safer spaces, and we need the things we learned from our parents, cooking, talking, being loud, dancing, maybe the cool things. We should use them to work together.
Yeah, thank you, Berna. Maybe this is also a way to reach more people, like broader audience of our communities, what you both said, that we need to reach also those individuals that may not be organized or cannot be organized, and maybe we need this kind of settings that are more familiar.
Yeah, maybe, sorry, I speak for NRW. I don't have the impression that we have these structures like here, Romani Penyor. I mean, you changed my world when it was, you know? You say, fuck up Präsidentspflicht, and I thought, oh my God, what's that? I can remember, so, you know? And in NRW, I don't have the impression that we have this power. Maybe, I think we have it, but we are not connected, and this is my position, so I don't talk about Berlin today, sorry.
Yeah, maybe it's also good to mention that it's also a regional aspect in how far we have the means, the capacities to organize trans-community-wise, because there are more regions like Brandenburg, no? For women in exile, it was not so easy to bring all those women together because of the rural conditions. But you were touching also upon, like, we don't want to discuss our issues with the gaze, with the white gaze. This is a very, very strong aspect and problem that we have identified this morning again. I think it's white dominance in movements is an always their topic. But what we were saying after we had some controversies about strategies against right-wing terrorism, but we said, I think it was somehow like also our collective idea, as we also underlined that right-wing terrorism and how we talk about it and how we act against it is very white-dominated, but communities always had their strategies and resistance against it. We said our strategies should not focus on to deal with with right-wing terrorism as such, like as to deal with the perpetrators, etc. We need different kind of resources, yeah? So maybe we can touch upon that. What kind of resources we need to bring further strategies that are transcommunal? Can you have some ideas about it?
Yeah, some of the things that we were mentioning about is the alternative media, which for sure is what has kept us all being visible, that we have platforms where we can put our information out. We, for example, the International Women's Space, we have published books, we have done conferences, we have done podcasts, we are doing audios. We have created our own alternative resource centers that when people are interested in finding what we are doing, they will find us. And this is what I find very enriching, because going back to 2012, this literature was not available. of people, women in exile who fought 20 years before, the Voice who are there in so many years, the Caravane who have been fighting so many years, and there was nothing documented that we could learn from. So this is already a change that we are really working on making for the future, that when they come, they would know where to start or how to pick up the fight from.
I also think it's time to mention the report of the Independent Commission on Anti-Gypsyism that was published this year, because I think it is a resource that is, like, on a political level very important for also many other communities, because it puts down a lot of knowledge and critical, interesting demands we can take up. It has been widely ignored, but it was not a small thing. I mean, it was the Ministry of Interior spending €500,000 on this question, right? Like on how to, or I don't know if that's the right number. I think it is, but it is. No, but spending money on this question on, like, how is racism against Roma and Sinti happening in this country, right? And what are the things that need to be done? And the demands of this commission are not as widespread as they would have been if it was another commission, right? But they should be, and I think also among other communities. So there's one demand that I think that would relate to us. I want to state two demands, my favorite two demands, because I think they're community-wise very interesting. One is the erasure of the idea of secure states, right, for Roma. To say that for Roma, this can't be secure states where they are, because they are a minority in these countries that is still being persecuted. And that is true for a lot of other communities as well, right? And also to look at the history of persecution and its aftermath and what it did. And they said this has to be erased, and all the political parties were at least reluctant about it, except for the Linke. But, you know, there is a discussion that is not happening. But but the other one is about justice that is nachholende Gerechtigkeit. So justice that is being done afterwards, in a way. It's a bad translation. But as an aftermath to bring back justice. And it's a very interesting idea, so it is connected to South African idea of a truth commission, to have a truth commission, actually, that will go into all the institutions, be it social work, be it Ausländerbehörde, right, be it schools, and so on, and to find out in these schools, okay, what are the things, the injustices that were done on us? What are the injustices that were done on us, and how can we overcome them? A very nice example from the Independent Commission on Anti-Gypsyism was that, for example, Eva Justin, she is a main figure in the persecution of Roma and Sinti. She made her doctor's degree during National Socialism on kids that were sent to the concentration camp. Eva Justin. And she had a career afterwards and died in a normal life. But her doctor title is still okay with the Humboldt University, for example. You know, so the Humboldt University has to take a step to take away her doctor title now, officially. You know, and stuff like this. So we gotta go into the institutions, and they said that this Truth Commission should all be filled with Roma and Sinti, who are after 45, who have been after 45 living through those injustices. And I think that's a very beautiful symbolic demand to have, and I think we should think about that for a lot of communities also.
Do you want to add something on that?
I want to add, I think what we need is also from my city, from my land, from my province, okay. Thank you. I don't know. NRW, my wish is to have a lot of allies, who give us rooms we need, who give us money we need, and it's our right to have this money, I think, when we talk about racist stuff, about racist systems, about sexist systems, about anti-Semitism, you know. And I think allies is a point I want to think in this process. And I mean, I don't want to have any discussions about, oh, sorry, you're white, and you know, about the emotions of white people. I don't want to talk about that. But allies, that's an important point for me. And we need also, I mean, it's another discussion in Berlin. It's my impression, and I think I need also my role models here. I mean, I have Heidi, I have Isidora, I have Romani Pen, I have Ini Ramya, I have also a lot of refugees who are in their own organizations. I have here a big Kurdish group, but I think we have to need that also in NRW. We have that maybe, I have a lot of connections, but I think we need that, we need structure in it. And we don't have it, because you need also money for it. I don't know how it is, but I think money is also an important point. And yeah, so there is a lot.
Now you want to say something? Okay. Let me introduce this money topic first, and then. So, but indeed, Berna, thank you for being that transparent. It is an issue for us, money, because we say we need spaces, we need time to come together. So many activists, especially feminists of color, black feminists, are involved in so many struggles because we are intersectional. Our struggles are intersectional. They're connected to many problems that we have, right? And it was repeated all over again through this 2.5 days that people said, I want to be there where connected struggles are, but I cannot be 3 persons at once. So we need money and we need spaces. And then a little remark on that. The movie we showed yesterday, which I was co-producing, we did it by consciousness without, we did it willingly, kind of, unwillingly, willingly, without money. Why? Because we know that those anti-racist struggles and analysis that we have, that they are censored and that they are repressed. Also by our so-called leftist allies, yeah? And that we have like problems of being attacked or being addressed as being racist or anti-Semites, whatever, like that we are the target now of the German society, and the left in general is repeating this repression against us, putting us as the homophobic, the racist, what migrants, people of color, call it whatever you want. So we said, okay, we want to make this movie, we want to talk about our struggles as we want it. But in the moment when you get funding, you gotta be aware that the funder doesn't spoil your agenda. So, Jennifer, how do you cope with this money issue?
That's one topic that is very huge, but probably, for example, also mention that most of the people we started activism with 9 years ago, they left activism because you have to pay bills, you live you live in a very bad way of life that is sacrificing all the time. And we are also aware, for example, with the funding and this going to the direction of NGOism, is about money. Yeah. To be able to sustain our initiatives, you need money. And then what comes with the money? The money comes with so many different demands or so many different bureaucracy that it takes you away from your from your political agenda. But I wanted to react to her when she's asking for allies. Just that you know, when you ask for white allies, they will come people who will provide solidarity, people who will want to do research with whatever you are doing, people who will, because of their white guilt, will bring all the unwanted clothes they cannot wear. So just be careful. We are a little
bit... And that's the problem. If you talk about allies,
yeah,
we have all these white shit.
Yes.
So that's the point. That's the point. We can't have allies, because my point is to connect it with you, with yours. what is with the bureaucracy? I mean, I don't want to do that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would be, I think, a fantastic world if we have white people, whiteys, yeah, who just do their work to help us in this stuff.
But sometimes
without demands.
But they come and change the dynamics of the group because money is a powerful tool.
Yeah, and that's
regardless,
the point.
even in your own organizations, you know, the finance office, even when they are not talking, that's where the power is, you know? So how to navigate these things within our political understanding and remain very relevant and true to our activism is the challenge. I think this is the topic of discussion that is bringing us here.
I think, yes, there is truth to it that the bureaucracy is hindering work as well, like because the public money that you get from many institutions is so bureaucratic in its demands that very few organizations are able to do that, right? And also there's a lot of risks attached to it. Right, so there are specific donors who have the right to to screen or scan anyone who demands for money or who is getting a contract with you even, right? So there's a lot of risks you also attached like by the security services and so on. So and if you are working with a vulnerable community like we are also doing, then you expose your community also to those risks by getting certain funding, and that is problematic. I think what is happening within the Bundeszentrale, now I will name our donors for this organization, is that there is a racism critical opening happening, and that's very helpful because I think most of this racism is happening because they're not aware. They're simply not aware what it means, like that this bureaucratic demand is unrealistic, that we don't have these institutions and professionalized people in many institutions that we have unless we have been in the business for 30 years, right? And so on. And I think so it's very important they have to have in-house people who can clean up for us so we can do our work in a way, right? And to make them understand in a way, okay, how this is working. So racism critical, but also like power critical people in general, I think that is a necessity. And honestly, I always wish for private money because my experience is that private money is always much less bureaucratic, much more helpful with also structural funding that you need, right? Yeah. So,
I mean, in a way, even the transformation of institutions, like to be racist critical, has its limits. You know, it's still like institutions, it's still state-funded agencies. I mean, I love the term of my French comrades of color, that they say we have in France the state anti-racism, and then we have our anti-racism. And I think we have the same thing here in Germany, and with private funding, there comes to my mind that, again, the initiative Uri Jallo, they do such radical work about the case of Uri Jallo, who was burned by the Dessau police in 2005 in a cell after being verhaftet. Incarcerated? Arrested. Thank you. And the initiative is working since 20 years to to tell the truth, actually, that it was done by the police officers, that he was burnt by the police officers, and they finance their own like their own Gutachten, what do you say? Oh my God. Their own, like, how they reveal the case. Because they do all the investigation by themselves again, and it costs money, and also to have like proof about how Uri Jallo was burned. They did independent investigations about that, and it's all money, and they are being funded by donations. So for them, it works quite well. But there's again the question of access, like which cases are donated for, which not. I mean, we have a large hierarchization of victims here in Germany. Who is counted as victim? Who is counted as urgent case? It's very complex. And then actually the easiest thing would be to just know some rich people. But they are. I mean, even my friends, they are rich. And
Maybe
they don't know where to put their money.
Maybe we can ask, are there rich people
There
to
are
pay
a lot,
us?
especially leftist people are very rich.
They are really rich.
This is also one of the problems that we have in the leftists here in Germany, that is becoming more and more bourgeois, yeah? But whatever, it's easier to chase migrants.
But
no?
maybe I can shortly switch because of Elias, because I know you.
Then I wanted to just say this and then to check if there's already questions. Okay. But if not, then please, Berna, keep your question in mind. Do we have questions maybe already? No. Okay. Can you say how many people are watching us? I'm a little bit curious. Stay tuned.
150 people.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Stay tuned, people. We love you. It's good to feel you, okay? Please.
Okay, I think I want to connect that again with your point, Elias. Be careful, you are absolutely right. Because I thought about what you said, and I forgot it now. Oh my God. Because the state anti-racist shit, yeah. But we have also police or Verfassungsschutz, Inlandsgeheimdienst, I don't... Yeah, who paid the Nazi structure, who paid the NSU in the beginning. So the question is always, when we have this state anti-racism, how safe is it? Is it just for the Germans to say, okay, I'm a good German because I work for the other people who are not white? So you're right. And but on the other side, I see also the problem. I heard last time when we talked about bureaucracy and our people. I mean, especially our people who couldn't enjoy in the past Bildung? Education. Like my mother, she enjoyed it in Turkey, but here she was only a cleaner. So I mean, this is the problem. Where are our people who can do that stuff, who are qualified for it? So we don't have them, I think, or it's a minority we have. But that's also a problem because the whiteys, they try to keep us there. I don't know where they're. So that's a problem, yeah? How can we trust them?
Trust is a big thing to even start discussing. How can we work with them? Leave trust alone. We know how, what the damage that has been done. Trust is not the question here. It's just how can we work with them?
And the question for us is, we need our safer spaces to talk with each other. I mean, we have maybe to talk about our problems, but in safer spaces. I mean, you know what I mean? And this is also about trust.
I would add here what we discussed this morning, actually, that we need to, because what we're trying in this panel to do is to somehow not only sum up what has been done, but also like look at how are we going and where are we going in a way with our activism, and also facing right-wing terrorism that is on the rise and making it much harder for us to be and to act. And I think it is very crucial that we form real unions. So not only, I think right now we have, my feeling, correct me, but my feeling is we have networks. We have networks, but we don't really have unions yet. And there are some unions that have been working. Yes, for example, Unteilbar, I think was kind of, no, but I'm thinking of them that had a lot of mobilization. Okay, I see your face. But there's, no, but I'm thinking in these sizes, because I think, I'm wondering, it's a discussion, like don't we need unions on specific topics that we're having in order to gain more visibility? And I think, of course, I know everything you're going to say now.
Like unteilbar, I know like maybe half of the viewers will say like, how dare you, we've been to the demonstration, it's been 500,000 people. But I'm gonna say something, okay? I know the structures behind this, and I even know the person who registered the demo 2 years ago is a good friend of mine, so I can say that. Excuse me, but like there we're gonna have some class analysis, because the people who formed and called for action for this unteilbar thingy, it was white bourgeois people, that they had white bourgeois representation and language. Even the word racism was discussed, if they should put it into the flyer or not.
Yes, okay.
You know? And of course you can attract 200,000 people then. Because anyway, you're talking to your classmates, like your dudes, your uncles, your aunties, of course they're gonna show up. But hey, you can believe me, if we would have written the same flyer, us and International Women's Space, Romani Pen, Allies, and Schrickle, genau, Nick Antifa. Like, you know, if we would have written the same flyer with our names under it, only 20 people would have shown up. Because why? Because the racialized people, they are so victims and they're always crying that they're so oppressed, and they wouldn't take it for serious. Or they would say it's too radical, you know? If we say it in Berlin, if we say it, it's too radical. If some white bourgeois people come and say racism, it's accepted, yeah? Because it's in the framework of the society, of state anti-racism, that it's been respected. Is my theory.
You see, this topic is very good that you're bringing, because then it's a white bourgeois class, that it was a class thing. But there are also white people who are comfortable, who are working with our own people. I am calling them enablers or collaborators, who make it comfortable for them to work with the white people, because then they don't make the white people very uncomfortable in the topics that we are doing, because then we are radical. So there is the
like token people.
Not even token, but collaborators, enablers who make the topic of, who make it much easier for white people to work with, you know? It's something that really we do not discuss within ourselves. That's why sometimes some of us are labeled radical, like you're saying, or black angry women. This statement, we've had it a long time, like it's like, if I'm not called that, then I'm not doing anything, you know? But then you see how to understand this, the class issue, and the enablers we also have within our community that enable this to happen.
It's true. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you, Heidi. It's just like what we had with Dana this morning. Like there was some statement that yeah, and that triggered us. And the same thing is with this example is for me the demonstration of when the refugee movement arrived at Oranienplatz. We were just 12,000 people, but this was the biggest and most empowering demonstration that I've been part of. Or your demonstrations, like we're going to have it maybe this year again.
In Marzahn.
Yeah, like from the Internationalist Women Alliance. For the 8th of March or the 25th of November. Intersectional, anti-sexist, anti-racist demonstration. And for me, empowering. No one is being censored. We have the Romnia community there. We have Palestinian women talking there. We have Afghan women talking there. Refugee women. Everybody, every woman has a chance to be public and be accepted and not be harassed and criminalized. Like what Sister Frances said yesterday, you know?
Yeah, I've also been thinking when you were elaborating again why that is problematic, what I just said. No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. No. I was thinking that this this actually is the work we're doing. You know, we're like making other more mainstream things possible. You know, because I think we are speaking from a very specific and very on point perception. I don't like this. The word radical has been abused a lot. I think, you know, of course, if you take radical from its original use, radix, like origin, right? Like where the problem originates from, then it would be nice, but it's not used like that, right? So I think what we are doing is giving a very precise analysis of this society as it is, right? And we are offering something to the society. And as it is in workshops that you've all been giving, there's always someone, most of the people grab something, the main idea, and they will take that with them and make something out of it. And maybe this is what happened with Unteilbar. They took something out of it and left a lot behind, you know? But there is also a value to it, because it also pushes things into the mainstream. It is mainstreaming in a way, right? It's a process of mainstreaming. No, we are not profiting, we are creating. You know, we are the ones who are like building the groundwork for this to happen, which does not mean that this is what we wanted, or this does not mean that this is where we wanted to go. But I think it will make life easier in 20 years for other people, hopefully. I'm optimistic. I need to, because I don't think we have another chance to not be optimistic, right?
But we have to also know what's going wrong with that, and tell also these white allies, comrades, whatever, because I mean there were also refugee groups that were triggered by European flags. I mean all that things. You know, okay. So before we, go deep into like negative criticism, blah 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 blah, what we want to talk about here and set a focus, because it's a feminism of color conference, and it is optimistic, it is full of power, and is okay. What is going to be our next steps? Maybe we have some announcements or next steps to share, or do we want not to share it? I don't know, but I think we want. No?
Yeah, we can share that. So today we decided as a group of the leftovers, so the people who, the qualitative ones, those who could come, who could make it, basically. But those who were there, we had a very quality discussion this morning, and what we said is we got a nice input from our colleague Nadine, and she told us that there is something such as strategic litigation. So you gotta analyze your movement in a way, right? You gotta analyze your goals, like what is changeable, what is not changeable, and how can we like intervene or not intervene. This is the very shortcut summary of what she said. She has much more to say about it. It's political analysis. And we said that we would love to have a follow-up with the women of this conference who were there and who weren't there in an online workshop, and maybe next Romnia Power Month, that could be an option. Woohoo!
April 2022, right?
8th of March till 8th of April 2022, exactly. And maybe we could follow up on this question, how does that work? And then also find specific topics we want to focus on as the different groups that we are, and where we can like together do strategic litigation, I think. Yes.
I think it's more processual.
Okay. Is it strategic litigation, Nadine?
No. Vielleicht ist es auch ein nicht juristischer Term. Anyway, sorry.
Okay. Okay, but anyways. Foresight. Strategic foresight. Thank you for the term. Strategic foresight is what we want to do.
Litigation is also good.
Is also part of this, surely is. Sorry. Strategic foresight is what we want to do. So all of the women of this conference and of color and other women of color wanting to join us can send us an email too.
Great.
Yes.
Jennifer?
For us, before we reach April, of course, we invite you to the demonstration on the 25th of November, which will be in Marzahn. And there is a reason we take it to Marzahn, because we have that's where now the migrant community is being placed. We have 2 Unterkünfte there that are experiencing the racism that is being spoken about outside of Marzahn and any other spaces. So we go to meet the racists there, the Nazis there. And it's also the point where intersectional anti-racist feminists do the work that they do, unlike how we divide with the other forms of feminism that we talk about.
Can you give us more details, like what is the time that it's going to start, and
it's a Thursday.
Is there a possibility to go there together? Is
Yes.
there meeting points? Can you talk about
Yes,
that
we have
short?
meeting points where people will meet at different points that will be shared later. It will be at 6 o'clock in the evening. Thursday is a working day, so it has to be people coming from work. And then we join together and we will try to make it very short because, of course, in winter it gets very dark quickly. Yes. And also we don't want to put our bodies in danger, but we also have to be present in these spaces. We have to take up these spaces. So more information is on our website, is on the social media, Alliance of International Feminists. It's another platform for the migrant, self-organized migrant groups organizing their own way, in their own ways, to demonstrate and taking the streets also. It's important.
Definitely. Brenda, do you have something to share for us as a next step to build up our unions?
I think for me, not for Berlin, but I think I will go back to Cologne and I will think about that, what we talked in the today in the morning. And I think I want to connect a lot of people again. And we have a lot of networks in NRW. I know people, but we don't have a union. And I think I want that in NRW. And that's my step for NRW. Thank you for that. So I take it. Yeah, that's cool. Thank you.
We're always here for backup.
Yeah, for sure. And I invite you to NRW because I think we have to learn from each other how it is here, how it is our fight in NRW. We have to change these things. Maybe we find also some connected points. So maybe.
Yeah, at least digitally we can try to make that, maybe if traveling is not easy these days. Okay, I guess so we had the good closing statements from you that give us hope, and of course, I mean, like the topic that this conference was about was very hard and very traumatizing, and a lot of troubled destinies and generations within. So you see, like when we talk about it, right-wing terror and racist terror, we always go back and forth, like trauma and frustration, but also power. So it's everything, you know, because it's our lives, our existence. It's about our lives and existences. But I guess we can go out of this conference very smart and, yeah, with things to look forward, especially. So this conference gave us really things to look forward to, and I'm very thankful for that, to have been able to be part of that, and I want to thank you so much for that.
I want to join in this thanking tradition, so maybe I'll end now.
Make the closing words.
Thank you. I want to say this is not over. And we are continuing, and I'm grateful for everyone who was present online, who was present in present, although it is such challenging times with the cases rising and the organization we are doing, and we are overworking ourselves. So I want to really thank again the people who were working here. I want to thank Nadia, who despite or with her child, who has to be nurtured right now after this, was able to moderate a whole conference. This is, to me, feminist power at best display. And I want to thank a lot Isidora, who in the middle of the night would wake up and do strategic work with me and try to save things here. And I want to thank Estera, who also gave a lot of input and work and couldn't be here today too. And I want to thank Nadine, who was running from A to B, got tested and then again tested, had a whole COVID drama besides that conference, and is back here And we're so happy to have you back. And I also want to thank Tamara, who has been working yesterday here with us, and Jayran, who are our colleagues and working here. I want to thank Svetlana for making this space also, like with Kreuzberger Kinderstiftung, possible. And I want to thank, of course, Bundeszentrale für politische Bildung for the funding that we got. And I hope that this is not the last time, and I hope we will deepen the thoughts, and I've learned a lot, and I'm grateful for that.